Let me share. That is the critical part. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay. Fine.
A very good morning to all the participants. My name is Dr. Vignesh. I'm part of the National Digital Library of India team. We are one of the co-organizers and technical support partners for this 25th Silver Jubilee Year Panicker National Reading and Digital Reading Month celebrations, along with Niti Aayog, Ministry of Education and Central Board of Secondary Education. And over 120 partners have joined for this year's Panicker National Reading Month celebrations. As you are aware, we have been organizing a series of webinars, and today is the 24th in the series of webinars on this series. And today's topic is on NDLI for digital resources for the differently abled. We have Professor Partha Pratim Das, who is one of the finest human beings I have come across in my life. He is also my boss, so I'm very proud to say that. And Professor Das has been one of the founding members of this National Digital Library of India. So he has traveled extensively across the country as well as outside of India to collate and nurture various partnerships for bringing National Digital Library to this stage. So I remember like he traveled outside of India almost more than a month and visited various content partners and various international digital libraries and forged collaboration. So he thinks his primary thinking on the NDLI is unmatchable. He is like a thinking hat. So he has a lot of ideas to bring up National Digital Library of India to every Indian citizen. So I remember like we met him in Kerala almost like 5 years back, first time. So that time he came down to Kerala only for creating awareness about National Digital Library of India for public librarians. So that's his very kindness. He wants to ensure that the resource reach every sections of the society. Professor Das is like he is holding a P.Tech, M.Tech and PhD from IIT Kharagpur. He has worked in the industry as well as in the academia. Currently, he is the professor of computer science at the IIT Kharagpur. And he is also helped and managed a lot of entrepreneurship initiatives, the technology-enabled learning entrepreneurship. And his research interests include, as I one of the things I liked about his research interest is he is analyzing the Indian classical dance from a technology perspective, and in fact he has last time showed some work he has done on that also. So he is also passionate about human activity tracking, machine learning, technology enabled learning also. And he has received a number of awards. I think he has received the first UNESCO Young Scientist Award back in 1989. So with this kind introduction, now I request Balagopalji to formally welcome Professor Das to this session and also the participants. Over to Balagopal, sir. Sir, kindly unmute, sir. Balagopal, sir, your mic is mute. Kindly unmute yourself. Balagopal, sir, can you hear me? Kindly unmute yourself. Just press the space bar in front of you.
Yes, okay.
Yes, now it's fine.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vignesh. It's a pleasure and privilege for me to address welcome. Welcome to make my welcome address to Professor PP Das, because he is known as PPD, or PPC and PPD, the dual, the two giants of the National Digital Library. In fact, he is my guru. That he only taught me about this National Digital Library, the potentials and the prospects of the National Digital Library. And now I am going here and there and telling 1% of his lessons he has given to me, the knowledge he has given to me. No, he's honestly, as he rightly said, one of the nicest man we have come across among the friends, the international level, from state, national and international level. Very nice, a lovable man with a walking encyclopedia in digital technology. And not only digital technology, now his passion is developing the digital library to reach the unreached, to have a real reach to the poorest of the poor. So with his mission, with his missionary zeal and his wisdom and his technical knowledge, he will excel. And I am sure that the government of India will award him Padma Awards in the future, because his dedication to the cause, and his capacity to solve any issues that is coming across his journey, that is laudable. And he is my real friend in this technology, and he only brought this digital library movement to Kerala. In fact, when he came as Dr. Vinesh said 5 years back, as per the own invitation, he made an impact, a very what do you call it, very impressive speech that made us to follow his footsteps and make this digital library movement as a real success. Now, sir, for as last year also I have said, now the Prime Minister has given the green signal to go ahead with this establishment of 2.60 lakhs digital libraries in the country, using our what is MB-led fund, and MLA-led fund also, because MB-led fund is reviving again because it was suspended for a short while. Now from this October onwards, it will be revived. And then MLA fund also, because local management, local fund resource is deriving from MLAs also. So with MLAs, MPs, MLAs, and the district administration, we will be establishing these digital libraries in 2.65 lakhs villages. And by the time the internet connectivity will also be a reality, and the McKinsey, the IT guy McKinsey says by India will have 90% Indian villages have internet connectivity by 2022-23. So this online education, if we want this online education through, and this digital library has to be established in all the villages. First, initial in villages, and later in homes of every citizen. Citizen who deserve to acquire knowledge. And Professor Das is the man behind this gigantic movement of the country. Professor Das, I welcome you to this August meeting. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, participants. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You are audible, sir.
Thank you, Balagopalji. You have spoken much higher of me than what I actually am. Actually, the fact of the matter is, I learned a lot about the reading initiatives at the grassroots level from you, from the great initiatives that PN Panicker Foundation has been taking, and we are really happy and fortunate that National Digital Library of India for last 5 years is being able to collaborate with the foundation to further the cause of reading, the cause of education, the cause of knowledge availability at multiple levels. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Vignesh, for introducing me. Again, more colorful than what I actually am. Anyway, so let me get started. I'm sure the audience here have had quite a bit of introduction about National Digital Library of India, because many of my colleagues have spoken on various aspects of this National Digital Library. I would today talk about a portal, a vertical that is yet to be launched. It will probably get launched in a couple of weeks. It's almost ready. A portal which is specifically focused on the issues of the persons with disability. So, as you are obviously aware that India has a big population of such people, particularly a big chunk of them are disabled with blindness or low vision. So there has been a lot of requests to NDLI to create a knowledge repository targeted towards these group of people, or these kind of requirements. So this is a portal which will go towards that. This is roughly the agenda. I'll spend 2-3 minutes on reminding you on NDLI, and then I'll talk a little bit about the aspects of disability in India and give a overview of the portal. And then in some depth, I will walk you around the part of the portal that deals with blindness and low vision, which is the kind of a very large concern in India so far as disability is concerned. And what you see here, it's not just a random coloring on this slide. This is actually the International Disability Flag. It was created in 2017 and accepted internationally as a flag to use on issues relating to the disability. So National Digital Library of India is one library for all of India, as Balagopalji has rightly pointed out. It was created, it was started in 2015 and by Ministry of Education, who has been supporting it all through this time, and it is being implemented by IIT Kharagpur, the project of which Professor Partha Chakraborty, many of you may have heard him already, and myself are the principal investigators. As of now, we have about 7.3 crore contents in the digital library here, of which about 5 crore contents are fully available in full text. They are open and free. The remaining contents, some of them have some authentication requirements or some payment requirement. The library is covering several languages, 400 plus, and it integrates about over 350 sources. So it is, just to remind you of what it is a 24/7 enabled umbrella digital library, which means it's a federated library, which works with several partners to get you the contents. It has single window search, browse, and it is inclusive in several ways, in the covering all academic levels, different disciplines, and so on. Different languages. India, as we all know, has several languages, 22 official languages, of which currently we have been able to provide user interface for 10 most used languages in India, in addition to English. Now, besides this overall collection, we have very specific collections which are focused on terms of different user groups. So we have collections specifically for school kids created during the COVID time, for different board level examinations, different disciplines of engineering, science, humanities, literature, law and management, and so on. So you can either fully search through this library, get your content, and there are several refinements and all that are used in doing this. I'm sure Dr. Vignesh has talked about it already to you. And in addition, these are collections which are focused for user groups, and NDLI disability portal will be one such collection which will relate to, which will deal with all kinds of issues therein. So these are basics of digital library and how it improves upon the traditional library. I'll skip on that. I'll emphasize on the fact that NDLI as a whole is driven by the two basic motto of openness and inclusiveness. It's open to all. Anyone can access most of the contents free, even without login or registration. Sources are mostly open access. As I said, about 75% of the sources are open access, full text accessible. And further, it actually uses open technology, open source software, open metadata. So we believe in openness, and that's the way to go to be able to scale up. And the other side is it is inclusive in every respect. It covers all subjects, all levels of education, all domains, and so on. And NDLI Disability Portal is an attempt towards increasing or extending this inclusivity to persons with disability, for whom specific information availability in NDLI has not been very great earlier. So these are some of the unique features you may have already known. I've talked about most of these. So there are about 15,000 participating institutions who are currently benefiting from NDLI. Over 200,000 hits are available on a daily basis, are made on a daily basis. So I'll move on to giving you a glimpse of NDLI disability portal. What does it really have to deal with? Now, before I get into the aspects of the portal, let me just take you through some basic facts about disability in India. So in India, according to 2011 census, which was possibly the first census which very in a structured way collected data on disability, it has been estimated that out of 121 crore population at that time, 2.68 crore, which is about 2.21% of the total population, has some form of disability. Many have multiple forms as well. So here is the numbers in terms of the division in gender. Here are there's a graph which shows the divide between the rural and the urban, and naturally, as you can expect, that on the rural side, the number of people are a lot more. And on the pie chart here, I present the percentage of different forms of disability. As of now in India, 21 different forms of disability are officially recognized. Of that, the top few go into the three classes, which is disability in terms of movement, locomotor disability as it is called, disability in terms of hearing, that's the deafness or related hard of hearing issues, and disability in relation to vision, which is blindness or low vision. But of course, there are several others. There are multiple disabilities which also cause. So given this, there is naturally a big concern in terms of what are the issues that relate to persons with disability. There are issues of several dimensions, of which health, education, employment, accessibility, discrimination and social exclusion, poor implementation of policies and schemes, and so on, are some of the really top issues. I mean, health is several of the disabilities require medical attention, so health system support is critical, which is not up to the requirement. Education for the disabled has mostly been not looked at properly for several ages. We will talk about how the new education policy has somewhat started addressing it. Employment is very important for inclusivity of every person with disability in the development process of the nation. But if you ask a large number of persons with disability, the one of the major factor that people talk about is accessibility. Accessibility is an important, very, very important factor which relates to policies, which relates to infrastructure, which relates to, for example, accessibility. I mean, in terms of physical accessibility, you may have started seeing that government now has been enforcing that there has to be physical accessibility of every public space. There should be ramp, there should be right ways of railings and so on and so forth, even though in most public places, whether it is a railway platform, whether it is a bus terminus, you will see that these are grossly missing. Accessibility is also in terms of electronic access. For example, if I talk about accessibility of websites, that's a very critical issue, because think about a person who has blindness, or maybe not completely blind, but low vision. Most of the websites are not amenable for access to that person. The person would possibly need to use a screen reader, a computer software which can read out the page to the person. Now, if the screen reading is to be done, then certain infrastructural support is needed from the website. For example, every image cannot be read out. So every image need to be supplemented with a brief description of the image, which the screen readout software can read out to the person with blindness. Accessibility also includes the way your menu is organized. For example, we are very comfortable using mouse to go to different buttons and access them, click on the links and so on. A person with blindness or a person with motor neuron disorder would find it very, very difficult to do this navigation. So the navigation must be possible through spatial means. It should be possible through few simple keystrokes. There must be a natural flow in that website and so on. So accessibility, when you talk about accessibility, there's a big issue both in the physical as well as in the electronic world, digital world. So, and of course, discrimination and social exclusion, which has to deal with our awareness about the disabilities, what they really mean, and particularly trying to not to tag persons with the disability he or she has, but to deal the disability as a problem that needs to be addressed, that can be addressed and solved, so that the person can have proper education, employment, and contribute to the development of the nation. So out of all these, I mean, there would certainly be a lot more issues you can talk about, but I just took the very big top level burning issues, I should say, and I've highlighted the middle four because in some way or other the disability portal of NDLI would try to provide some assistance, some information base to address these issues. So that's the basic objective of this portal, is to create a knowledge base, first nationwide. I mean, there are several websites, as you can think of. In any area you will have that, but like NDLI in principle integrates knowledge sources across the country, NDLI digital disability portal is trying to collate information across the nation, across organizations, even from abroad, to help the knowledge, help the education, the employment, the accessibility, awareness, and so on for the disability issues. Let me. So this is how the site is primarily structured. I'll just briefly go through that. So there's a homepage which talks about disability. I'll talk about few basic issues. Then we have different sections based on different aspects of different types of disabilities, like blindness and low vision, hearing impairment, locomotor disability, and so on. Of that, the gray ones are still under development. So I will just talk bits and pieces about the blindness and low vision, which is in the second column. And in this, these are the key points on which we have tried to organize information. There are resources that are available to persons with blindness or low vision. Information about employment opportunities, training and vocational opportunities. What does the caregivers? Certainly persons with disability in several ways need caregivers, whether it is their family, their parents, their friends, or their teacher, or their doctor or nurse, or some paid caregiver. Caregiving is a very critical part of disability management, so to say. So we talk about, provide different information about caregivers, as you can see in the third column. We talk about different institutions that are working on the disability of blindness, internationally, nationally. The NGOs, which are playing a very big role in terms of this, will also they are really playing a critical role. And last but not the least, the rightmost column is probably the most powerful contribution of this particular portal, because even though you get some collated information about caregivers or institutions here and there in different websites, this is the first time a portal is collating information about varied kinds of technology assistance that are available for the disabled, particularly people with blindness or low vision. So we talk about various ranges of technologies, starting from dealing with braille, dealing with written text, dealing with images, which is becoming very, very which has been ignored for several centuries, I should say, so far as blindness was concerned. Then different aids for the low vision, help for orientation and mobility, help in education, games, leisure, day-to-day life, and so on. So given that, I will just quickly take you around some of these and talk about some of the interesting aspects that. So starting with disability in India, these are the major things that someone needs to know. The fact of the matter is that after a lot of several years of advocacy, finally we have a moderately comprehensive act in terms of rights of persons with disability act in 2016. The earlier act in 1995, 20 years earlier, were incomplete in multiple different ways. Then we have the establishment of Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, which in 2012, which really supports this initiative significantly. We have our national education policy published last year, and we talk a little bit about how to refer to persons with disability. So if you look at the act, which is the backbone of any governmental support or the public activities, you can see for the first time a couple of very significant things have been provided. One is it is the insult or intimidation or humiliation, discrimination of persons with disability in public view has been criminalized. So this is a very, very strong message to the society. The reservation in government jobs have been increased from 3% to 4%. Free education has been proposed in conjunction with NEP for the child aged 6 to 18, and the overall coverage of disability categories have been broadened to a great extent, expanding from 7 to 21 now. And there are very unique conditions of people suffering from have been now recognized as disability in the Act, like victims of acid attack, dwarfism, different kinds of blood disorders, and so on. So we provide a very comprehensive treatment of this Act on the portal, talking about the high points and also mentioning about few things that still can be done. The other broad change that came in, there is, I think, one second. So NEP, which came in 2020, I'm sorry, there's a typo here, copy paste error, has in several sections addressed the issues of the persons with disability. And it has for the first time talked very strongly about equitable and inclusive education. For a large period of time till date, the education to the disabled were thought to be special, only special. So there are special schools for persons with blindness, and so on and so forth. Now, but over time it was realized that this segregation is causing severe issues with the society and the persons with disability. On one side, when a child goes to a special school, the child starts learning that the child is in that way, so-called, is not normal. Now, a person with disability has got nothing to do with not being normal. I mean, somebody may be short in height, somebody may be fat, somebody may be fair, somebody may be able to run fast, and so on. Everything is our diversity in our human race. And we always raise our voice if there is discrimination made on this. But then why discriminate child with disability by sending it to a special school? So NEP has very strongly talked about inclusive education, where the child with disability will go to the school where all other children are also attending. There would obviously be special needs, and those needs will have to be taken care of. NEP talks at length about these needs and what the government, the educational institutions, the NGOs, the citizens need to do in this regard are broadly classified. So it does sync with the RPWD Act 2016. It has talked about disability-friendly school infrastructure, which is very, very important. And till date, only a few schools exist which are inclusive. Amar Jyoti School, for example, is one who have been in existence for decades, who are inclusive, and that there's almost equal representation of children with disability and children who do not complain of any specific disability. Then there is a lot of technology interventions that have been suggested in terms of classrooms, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of providing flexible curriculum, assessment and certification for the disability education, which is required worldwide for further higher studies and so on, educational software, teaching, learning content, and so on. So it goes in a very strong way to create the road forward for all of us to empower the disabled in their education and employment. Let me move forward. So before I get into some of the topics in dealing with disability of blindness, let me tell you with a very humble tone that over decades, the society in general, not only in India, all across the world, has been really struggling to find proper terminology to make reference to persons with disability, which is the currently most widely accepted terminology. So in India, we have used, and we have used the term disabled person, or Viklang in Hindi, till 2016, when we started using another term, Divyangajan. I do not want to go into the debate of which term is more proper and which is not, but certainly a lot of terms that have been used intermittently, like being handicapped, crippled, physically challenged, and so on, have been discarded, obviously. It is interesting to note that many of us still feel that it is okay to refer to disability as, or the person with disability as, being differently abled. It is very, very interesting for you would be to know that several disability groups, several actual persons with disability denounce this branding, because their argument is simple, that everyone, whether they have a disability or not, are differently abled. Sachin Tendulkar is differently abled from A.R. Rahman. A.R. Rahman is differently abled from Vishwanathan Anand. So if someone has difficulty with vision, why the person will have to be specifically labeled as differently abled or spatially abled? It is really educative to know that most people, person with disability, prefer to accept that there is a disability, but in a very positive way, in a very sensitive way. So when we talk about persons, when we talk about disability, here just some collection I made from searching different literature and web, that what is appropriate to say and what is not appropriate to say. For example, person with disability is what currently is accepted as an appropriate term, whereas handicapped, differently abled, or disabled are not thought to be so. It is not appropriate to call someone blind. It is better to refer as person with visual disability, person with blindness, person with low vision, person with visual impairment, and so on. So the list would go long, but the key theme in this whole thing is, and that's the first education that I developed while working with this vertical, is that we must use person first language. We must not say blind person. If we say blind person, the emphasis is on the blind. So the person is getting tagged with a tag called blind, but we should refer to that person as person with blindness, where the person comes first. I'm a person with triple bypass cardiac surgery, which is truth, but that is the way people would refer to me, not the other way around. So we have to keep this person first aspect in mind. So with this broad introduction to the aspects of disability in India, the law and the approach, let me take some deeper look in terms of the low vision, blindness and low vision, which is a particularly disturbing form of disability in India. So these are the global facts. Globally, there is 1.1 billion people. That is about 14% of the population who have some form of vision loss. Now, one point we'll have to make it clear is blindness and low vision are not the same thing. Blindness has a very strict definition of how low is the vision. Even a person with blindness may not have a completely dark view. A person may be able to distinguish between light and not light. Going on, there are different forms of levels of impairment with the visual ability, and that's the different ranges of vision loss or low vision that we talk about. So there are people who are blind, who are moderate to severe vision impairment, and these all have very scientific definitions, which we talk about in the portal to educate the common people, and so on. So here's the statistics, and then below in the next point is the equivalent numbers in India. You will see one point you may note that the numbers that you get when you look at the census data and the numbers that you get when you look at, say, these statistics are taken from WHO, World Health Organization. They will not tally because the categorization and definitions are not always the same. So you'll have to keep that in mind. Do not get disturbed that, well, the numbers there are less, the number here is more, and so on. But the percentage, as said, is 19.38%. That's a huge number. But if you look at the globality of the aspect of disability of vision in India, then you can see that about 25% of persons with disability are present in India. That is, every 1 of 4 persons with blindness or low vision is an Indian, which is a very, very unfortunate fact. India happens to be the country with largest number of low vision people. Right? So here, these are the different aspects we talk about in blindness or low vision, which would be in general very educative for everyone. I mean, if you have to understand the people with blindness or low vision, you have to understand blindness and visual impairment to a commoner's level, a layman's level as such. So you need to understand the nature and prevalence of vision loss, particularly what is the situation in India. And you'll be really shocked to know that the largest cause of vision loss in India, in fact, across the world, is cataract, which is removable with a very simple surgery and is curable. So this is called preventable vision loss, and a large number of Indians suffer from that. So that tells us, what is the way to go. So there are other factors as to, did we ever think that if someone has visual impairment, what does that person see? The person does not see blackness alone. That's being totally blind. But you have often seen blind people achieving a lot of things. Blind people even becoming sharpshooters. There have been Olympic medalists and so on. So people with different impairments see certain things, and it is a very good education to understand what do they see. And it's a tough challenge. So we present a lot of images and data about that. Then talk about deaf blindness, which is another common factor which makes really any kind of intervention very, very difficult. Right? So moving forward, let me take you through some of the major sections. The first section, of course, in terms of resources. Resources are very important for a digital library for us. And we talk about a wide range of resources that are available digitally for the blind and the low vision people. So resources broadly can be categorized into 3 buckets. One is educational resources, which come in form of audiobooks, braille books, ebooks, podcasts, audio archives, and large prints. Large print is another which is very, very popular with low vision. If you have less visual acuity, then you may not be able to read a normal text, a normal font size, but you'll be able to read if the font size is made bigger. So this is physically done as well as this is digitally provided. So in terms of these educational resources, we have listed nearly 50 plus sources where different of various forms of these contents are either freely available or freely available to person with blindness and low vision, or are available at a very, very subsidized price. So this will be a great resource for people to refer to to know where they can get their educational material. The other is deals with information and other sources. It's getting educational material, your textbooks and related information is not enough. You need to naturally have access to other forms of information. There are several Braille libraries in India. We have talked about those. There are excellent videos available in YouTube talking about not only different educational aspects, but different issues, different support systems, different support groups, different technologies, different options, and so on. So we have listed at least 20 YouTube channels which are leaders in terms of providing information on blindness and low vision. There are excellent TEDx talks that have been given by different people on various aspects. Very interestingly, recently magazines have been started for the blind and the low vision. So these are Braille and audio magazines only. There are quite a few of them. And then research resources. This has been, lack of data on blindness research or in general disability research has been always a concern for development. Of late, there are a lot of effort is going into building up proper data sets, that we have now overall an emphasis of data science to solve difficult problems. So here we are trying to bring in the data sets that are available on vision loss across the world and specifically in India. So this is, we believe, would be a very, very important resource for persons with blindness and low vision and all persons, all caregivers that are associated with them. This is a glimpse of Vision Atlas, which has been launched in the last couple of years, which has this is an interactive portal, and it can be, the data here can be used freely, and it gives you multiple views in terms of countries, in terms of types of vision loss, in terms of types of remedies, and so on and so forth. And in keeping with this, very recently, India, with support from NATMO, our mapping organization, has launched India's Vision Atlas, which goes deeper into Indian specifications. For example, the particular map I'm showing you here does highlight the districts in India which has very, very high percentage of people with visual impairment. So these are great resources to be used in research and education. This is just a sample of a magazine. This lady, Upasana Makati, first started White Print, which is a magazine, Braille magazine for the visually impaired. It's a great initiative. She actually left her regular career and dedicated her life for this magazine and promotion of Braille literature easily in India. Moving on, employment is obviously is a priority for every citizen. And we have a kind of, mindset. I'm not certainly meaning everybody, but many of us do, that, well, if somebody is disabled with blindness or has significantly low vision, then that person is not fit for employment, which is a very, very wrong thing to think of. So there are several employment options here in this chart, and the details are there on the site. We have tried to collate information on career options. These are different sectors, as you can see, of the economy. These are sectors in which there are career options for people with blindness or low vision. And this is just not a theoretical study. We have collated this sectoral information based on placement information and job ads that are available in multiple job sites. There are some, avenues. Well, you can see that many of these are very, very, are well known also, like BPO as we know that they have been engaging a large number of persons with blindness. Physiotherapy has been another area where a lot of people with blindness have been working. IT of late has been using quite a lot. But there are very interesting, sectors like food and smell tester. There's a college, interestingly known as a College of Fragrance for the visually impaired, who give training to the visually impaired people on how to smell and how to distinguish different smell and how to tell about quality based on smell. So they are getting good opportunities in terms of quality assurance responsibilities in fragrance industry and others. So there are information videos on this, which particularly is fascinating. Now, obviously, the question is, if the person with blindness have to look for jobs, the job ads must be accessible. This is where my reference to web accessibility comes to a big question, because even unfortunately, most of the job portals are not accessible for the visually impaired. So that needs to be worked on, but there are several standard ways of going about in terms of looking for job options, job awareness, and of course, taking help from the caregivers. There's a very interesting lecture series created by XRCVC, the St. Xavier's own Center for Vision Center, where experts domain experts talk about the opportunities of the visual impaired in these sectors of employment, whether it is journalism, whether it's finance, whether it's law, whether it's tourism, whether it's business and entrepreneurship, and so on. The very, very rich videos with information and directions in career counseling, which certainly the people with blindness and low vision can make good use of. And here is a glimpse of, the actual list is much longer. Here's a glimpse of different organizations who offer proper job ads, or actually offer placement services or placements to people with blindness. So there's a rich collection of information in terms of employment for the blind. And the next section talks about training and vocational. I'll just skim through very quickly, because there are several options in terms of training, in terms of vocational, particularly important for people who are who have not studied beyond, say, primary education or middle education. They can get into different vocational training and make livelihood as an employee or as a self-employed person. One interesting training is in digital accessibility. This is gaining a lot of momentum these days, because as I said, that digital accessibility, web accessibility is a concern area. And nobody really is fully aware of the requirements, or I should say, the completeness of accessibility. So not being a sight-led person, someone cannot really assess the accessibility of a website for the sightless. So there is a lot of opportunity that exists for the sightless in getting trained on what is digital accessibility, how to test it, how to train how to audit websites for accessibility, how to help the web designers in providing accessibility, and so on. So it is not only that there are the regular jobs which the person with blindness can take up with the assistance of technology, but there are new job opportunities also coming up, which provide a lot of hope to everyone. So these are glimpses of some organizations giving training. More are there in the website. Talking about caregivers, they are the critical people in the life cycle of a person with disability in general. So there are several factors about them. There are caregivers, they have their roles, they have specific, they have to be trained in a specific way. There are different, the teachers on the rightmost column, if you see, the teachers for the visually impaired need to know about the pedagogy, how to increase the braille literacy, how to use tactile graphics, how to do classrooms, and so on. There are different diploma, degree, and master's degree programs in terms of TVI that are available in India. They are certified by RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India, and so on. There is a lot about awareness and advocacy that needs to be that the people need to be aware of. So variety of this information around caregiving are collated here, including support service availability, support groups availability, and so on. So I'll not go through the details. I'm running out of time. So there are some tips for caregivers, which I lifted from a part of the site, which shows a basic workflow of, as a caregiver, what care you should take about the person whom you are caregiving and about yourself. There are different guidelines and policies at a government level, at an international level. There are awareness and advocacy that are strongly required. So we talk about why awareness and advocacy are important, and what are the forms of awareness, what are the forms of advocacy that currently exist. So there are several symbolisms, observances, there are organizations and projects, and there are very, very interesting projects that people do, like World Sight Day photo competition. It's a photo competition by the low vision people. The voice of the eye. There are different ways that you make.
Sir, your audio is not coming, sir. Sorry to interrupt. No, sir. No, we can't hear you, sir. Yes, I think now it's coming.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Sorry. How much time do I have, Vigneshji?
Now it's 12:30, sir. Maybe another 5-10 minutes.
Okay. I'll wrap within that. I'm sorry, I was not. I didn't understand that I was not audible. So there is a key issue of understanding the blindness. So one way people have innovated is the best way to do that is to experience the world blindfolded. And there are several forms in which this is being done in India and across the world. For example, blind walk, you just blindfold yourself and try to walk. Of course, this has to be done in an organized manner, because if I blindfold, I don't know how to use cane, and I'll just fall and hurt myself, but in a guided way. Walking in the dark, walk in the dark museum. There are museums created which are completely dark, where you cannot see anything. You have to feel everything. So that gives you a kind of realization of the world of for people with low vision. Then there is dialogue in the dark, dining in the dark, and so on and so forth. So very, very amazing things happening. And it's very in line with this. It's very interesting to see that Bollywood, our favorite movie industry, has been quite active, at least I should say in the last 10-15 years, in terms of taking up the cause of the disabled people. And we have seen several movies, whether it is Black or it is Tare Zameen Par and so on and so forth, coming in. And we had a very famous show on TV called Satyam Vajayate by Amir Khan. So these are different aspects of awareness, and all these information, these links, these videos are collated in this part of the portal, a rich collection for anyone to really go through. Let me Similarly, there's a lot of advocacy that is going on. And besides awareness, you need advocacy to really put your point. I mean, the reason the PWD Act of 1995 could change to RPWD Act of 2016 is because of severe advocacy by different groups. Advocacy was critical in making an amendment in the Copyright Act, which brought in Copyright Act 2012, where specific provisions were provided for the people with blindness so that the Braille contents can be easily made on copyrighted books without actually copyright payments. So these are the different aspects. This I found really interesting in terms of, I mean, it's really inspiring this in terms of awareness. In last year, this flag was created. This is a flag without colors. This is India's flag, of course, but it does not have colors because that's not what the people with without vision can appreciate. So rather it has everything written in Braille, where the top line, it says that, well, what is this color supposed to be and what does it mean? In middle, it talks about white, it talks about the Ashok Chakra and all that. And this has been used in several schools on the Independence Day, Republic Day, and so on. Really, this trend is going to, so kind of, when we see the tricolor, we have a feeling, right? All of us. I mean, I said that I have goosebumps when I hear the national anthem and see the national flag. So we have to give that feeling to the person who does not have vision, and these are attempt towards that. These are deeper ways of making awareness across communities. Here's a glimpse of the blind work. Then there are, I'll skip this: support groups, support services, vision centers. There are Braille production centers. All this information you'll find in the portal. Then details about what does it take to become a teacher for the visually impaired. What are the rules of that? What are the pedagogy that are available today? How to increase Braille literacy and so on. We have a lot of information given on institutions, international, national NGOs. I'm just flipping through these slides. You can later on go through them with a little bit of time. But because I want to just end with assistive technology, talking about assistive technology, which has become really a turnaround for the person with disability. And here we are talking about assistive technology, or AT as it is called, for the visually impaired. So there are different sections where we talk about reading and writing Braille, which has been the kind of the mother tongue for a large number of people without vision. But the fact of the matter is, still in India and across the world, only a very small percentage of persons not having vision or having a vision loss can read and write Braille. The reason is, it is not easy. It is not easy to get Braille books. They're heavy, they're expensive. It is not easy to write Braille. You need special pads. But technology has come to a solution. Now you have electronic Braille readers. Now you have mobile phone apps available, which can help you in terms of Braille reading, which can help you in terms of writing in Braille and so on. The similar thing exists in terms of reading and writing of text. There are screen readers. There are large prints. These are all different technologies and apps which are helping you in terms of helping the person with blindness in terms of reading a normal text. The problem comes with images. How do you teach geometry to a person, to a kid with very low vision? Or how do you teach geography, maps to that person? The only way is to go tactile. That is, have raised lines describe those images that we see. So kind of every information, we have seen relief map in geography ourselves, but in terms of teaching maps of all kinds, in terms of teaching geometry, in terms of teaching art, music, everything, the tactile is taking a very, very major role. And it's a revolution in 3D printing technology, which makes the tactile creation very easy and cost effective. And the use of tactile graphics becomes really, really important. There are several other aspects. I will, for the sake of time, I'll skip those. This is just a genealogy of Braille. If you wondered that, what happened to, this tactile writing after Braille, which was 200 years back, and thought that Braille is the only thing that is available, you'll get amazed as to what are the different options people have worked with. And it is very encouraging to know that there's a completely new system being worked on called ALIA frames, which is a combined system which is easy to learn. Braille, if it takes 3 months, ALIA takes about 2 to 3 hours to learn. And it can be learned by the person with sight and without sight, and a lot of technology are being developed on that. Very recently, last year, there was a Braille Noya created in Japan for the Tokyo Olympics. With the signages in Tokyo Olympics will be done in that, where the Braille codes will be embedded on top of the normal letters. Very, very interesting idea. And that is being tried out. So a lot are happening in terms of the technology. This is reading, writing, text. I just want to, this is my fascinating topic, so I just want to spend the last minute here and close. This is what you see is obviously all of us know Mona Lisa. And what may amaze you is the fact that somebody is touching the image, touching the picture with hands, which is a sure no in any museum, any gallery, anywhere, right? You are not supposed to. But here, this image is different. This is not, here the color is there for us to see, but for the people with no or low vision, it is actually a tactile image. It has different raisings, different textures, and the person with his hands are trying to feel them to understand what that image is. And slowly, a texture-based tactile language is emerging to understand images. And there's a great deal of tactile graphics that is going as aids and devices. A lot are being done in terms of in India, particularly IIT Delhi. They have spawned 2 startups who are producing different tactile study material. Visualization of the art, as I said, there's a lot of touch art, like Braille graffiti and accessible museum things are being done all across in India. So there's a lot of interesting such technology aspects covered here. These are in terms of low vision, some in terms of orientation and mobility. I'll skip those, and I think I will just end with the technology in day-to-day life, where I've just picked up a few. Obviously, finally, every person with blindness need to have an independent life. So assistive technology for ADL, that is assisted daily living, is very important. So there are different kinds of gadgets that have been thought of, that are being built in the low cost as well, which can help a person with vision loss lead life in a normal manner. For example, liquid level sensor. It's very difficult to pour liquid from one, say from the jug to the glass if you cannot see, right? So there are smart glasses, drinking glasses being made and so on. Growing up is always a difficult process, and it naturally is difficult for every kid, and more so for the persons who have vision loss. So just think of it, a child who does not have vision has not seen his or her body, does not know what is where. So this is a tactile education kit which gives these drawings are actually raised lines drawings, which the person can feel and understand on the body where different organs are and what are their role in terms of the sexuality that the kid is growing into are there. Android and apps and all that, I will skip the rest. Finally, naturally, we sign off by noting that in spite of all these ads, there are several achievers, and they will go on making us proud. They have worked against all odds. They have worked against all impairment, and so we talk about some of those grades. So with this note, I will close here. Grossly crossed time, I know. And if there are quick questions, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. In fact, I learned a lot of new terminology and a lot of new aspects to the rights of various disabled persons. So thanks to your detailed presentation. So we already have two questions lined up. One is question is from Ms. Sarita. Her question is how to tackle a disabled child who is stubborn and also having hearing issues.
Madam, I think you are asking a wrong person. I'm kind of a information collation expert. I'm not an expert of that field. So for this, I can send you certain pointers to whom you can ask on these. The caregivers in this, there are support groups which support in this, but I cannot, I would not dare to, even though I may have developed some ideas by reading this literature, I would not dare answer this question because I'm not at all an expert of this area. I hope you understand my situation. I'm kind of a information scientist collating the relevant information together and organizing them for easy use.
Sure, sir. The next question is from Ms. Meenakshi Joshi, and her question is: though government has done so much initiatives for persons with disability, but a huge amount of children with disability are not getting jobs, even after putting in a lot of hard work. So this actually creates a lot of inferiority complex or having losing faith in their own self. So what are your views in order to get them jobs which they deserve?
Obviously, this is a really difficult problem, and but the ray of hope is, why did I mean the basic question is, are they not getting job because there are not enough jobs, which is a general scenario in many areas. The other side is, are they getting discriminated? If they're getting discriminated, then it has to be acted upon, because certainly that is. But overall, I would say that the attitude towards employing the person with disability has significantly changed. I mean, if you go to the site on employment, part of the site on employment, you'll find references where there has been a detailed survey where they have compared, they have talked to several companies, and where the companies have said that they prefer to keep people with certain kinds of disability because they are more loyal, they have a better attitude, keeping them gives a better customer confidence, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of positive reasons to employment. Of course, the government efforts will never be able to satisfy employment, whether it's for the disabled or otherwise. There will have to be better awareness and initiative from all of us, and we do want to provide more and more live information on employment opportunities when we can complete this site. That was one of the visions I had, that can I try to get more live information on employment opportunities, job opportunities, and take it to the required persons. We will try to help on that. And if any of you are willing to help, we'll be most welcome.
Sure. So there is just a follow-up question to the just now your remarks. Whom to contact if you want to help for development of e-resources for visual impairments within NDLI? This question is from Ms. Sapna.
For right now in NDLI, it is me, because the site has not yet got launched. Certainly, In a couple of weeks when it gets launched, I will share it with Dr. Vignesh, who will share to all participants on that. That's the reason I have talked about so much on the site, but I could not really give you the link. And then you will be able to see what are the different e-resources available. You can just write to me. I can send you the collated list is obviously, some collated list is with us. So if you send me a mail, I will try to send you that list. You can check out those e-resources.
Sure, sir. Sir, this question is from my end. So this question is like, especially for this braille books, which are digitized in various libraries, and also as per the copyright laws, uh, it says like, for if we scan a copyrighted book, especially for people with person with visual disability, it's allowed. So what are your views on that, sir? Is it actually being implemented, or is there any legal hurdle that is still being faced?
No, legal hurdles. I mean, actually, you know, you have already heard the relevant person, Professor Ganguly. If I mean, I must mention that he was one of the key persons who advocated and made this change possible. He worked with St. Xavier's Vision Center to make this change in the Copyright Act. Now, the basic issue is this provision in the Copyright Act is to be used only with persons with disability. So anyone who wants to use that kind of a digital book needs to have the disability card, the UDID card. And so every source that provides this, where content has been created under this clause of the Copyright Act, will need that you apply with that UDID card. With the UDID card, it will become available. So that is the current situation. There is no legal hurdle as such. I mean, that I could find. I have read about 50 sites on e-resources by now, but nowhere people have talked about legal issues. People have talked about the availability issues. Not enough is getting digitized or being made into braille, because everything needs money, effort, and all that.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation and responding to all the questions from the participants. Now I request Balagopalji to formally propose the vote.
And Dr. Vignesh, I will share this presentation with you.
Sure.
And if we are sharing it with the audience, you are free to do that.
Sure, sir. I will put it on the website itself where the webinar is created, sir. And then we can share it with them. Balagopal sir, kindly unmute your mic, sir. You just press the space bar. It will be working.
Okay.
Yes.
I
hear you, sir.
It was a very amazing presentation, and it was so technical. You have touched all aspects of this much needed work because of the disability community. You are doing a great work, and you will be supported by the God also, because you are taking this education sector today. This what you call this disabled sector also very good, and your effort will have a very good result in the future, and everybody will be appreciating you. And this humanitarian job, you have touched these aspects in a very deeply, and my congratulations and my salute, big salute to you, sir. Thank you for coming here and spending more than 45 to 50 minutes with us and making this series of webinars a success. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Balagopalji. Thank you for the opportunity to me and to NDLI. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. So participants, I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. I have just shared the feedback.
Dr. Vignesh, I can sign off now?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Balagopalji. See you later.
So participants, I have just shared the feedback form URL in the chat box. So kindly submit your feedback form and get your certificate of participation. And also in the evening, we have another session on National Educational Policy 2020. And you can register for that as well. So I have shared the registration URL also. And kindly install the NDLI mobile app to access over 7.3 crore knowledge resources. And also for benefit of a lot of higher educational institutions and school education teachers and faculty members. There is the skills for work scholarship being offered by CADAS. So you can apply for the scholarship for the second batch. So currently we are accepting the application form. So for people watching in the YouTube, I'm just going to put it in the chat box and comment box. Kindly wait for a few minutes before I put it there. So with this, I thank each one of you for participating. I will check if there is any